Hi, Erika. So, thank you so much for joining us for this Women in Business interview. It's an honor to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to diving into your story and insights.
Thank you.
So, I'm thrilled to introduce Erika, a talented bilingual actress, performer, and public speaking coach who helps people communicate confidently in any setting. So, let's get started by learning more about you and your journey. Can you
Yes,
briefly introduce yourself and tell us about your journey as an actress, performer, and a coach?
absolutely. Thanks for having me as well. This is great fun. My story is not so easily told briefly, but I will do my best. Everything has sort of converged, and I think that is how it is for all of us, really. But I was born in the 1970s in Stockholm into a very dysfunctional family. My mother suffers from substance abuse. She became a mother at a very early age when she didn't want to be a mother. My father wasn't really present. He was a musician, so he was out touring. My mother is herself a victim of childhood abuse, but has never dealt with that trauma, but instead has drowned her fears and traumas in alcohol. And when I was a child, also drugs, light drugs, but even so, drugs. So that's the backdrop. So when I was born, today I'm actually realizing what a fighting spirit I must have been born with, even though I've not really quite acknowledged that until quite recently, because I didn't die, even though everyone wanted me to die. I didn't. I survived. But in that survival, I created a lot of survival strategies that I think we all do. And some for me were destructive, and some have today proven to be my silver lining. And the silver lining, the number one, is that I taught myself English at a very young age. That became my alter ego language. It was almost as if this second Erika that was English and had English imaginary friends, she became the Erika that had no problem, that wasn't shy, that could speak in public, that could sing and act and be happy and joyous. That is a silver lining and laid the foundation of my acting training later, and the fact that I chose to do that training in England and not in Sweden, all of that. The destructive survival strategies was a severe eating disorder that I had developed by the time I was 5, 6 years old, which is very young, and a crippling nervousness. And of course, the nervousness and being afraid of being in the spotlight, yet simultaneously having a passion for singing and acting stood, they were sort of arguing with one another. One wanted to hold me back whilst the other wanted to drive me forward. So that is the basis of where I come from. So fast forward to where I am today. The passion led me to England. It led me to apply to drama college. Luckily, I also had some talent, so I got in and did that training. Simultaneously, I was always felt like I was held back by this very destructive nervousness. And it wasn't until I landed my first job after drama college and the dance captain in that musical theater tour filmed the performance. And this is standard procedure when you do a play or when you're doing a tour. You have to make sure that the product that you are showing the audience is up to par, right? Um, so she filmed it, and we sat back, the team sat and watched it. And I was taken aback because there was this one number in that show that whenever I was stood in the wings waiting to go on to do this solo number with the dancers, that had me again. It was like I liken a performance and speaking in public almost like preparing to run a marathon. And I'm not a marathon runner, but I am good at getting up on stage. And I presume that when you run a marathon, you do your warm-ups, you might be apprehensive beforehand, but then you're past the starting and you're into it, you're in that flow. right? And very rarely, I think, do you come across a moment during that marathon when you feel as if you're back on the starting line with that anticipation. Yet that happened to me every time in this particular show with this one particular song. For some reason, it triggered my nerves again. And I thought, oh, here comes that song. And I know I'm so nervous before I'm doing this song, and it must show. And so I sat there looking at this video, and out comes this cool as a cucumber, walking in the park, Erika, singing this number. And it looked as if I had no worries or concern at all. And that was my first clue, though, to the fact that we might think something about ourselves and about how we come across. And that self-image might not be at all what is going on to the audience. We might give off a completely different vibe. And until you start realizing that the exterior me, the me that the audience is seeing, and the interior me, the me that I think I am, sort of showing the world, until you have started to understand both of these facets of you, that's when you can start really owning your own presentation. So that was a very long introduction to what I do, but I think it's important to understand that I have myself come through that kind of crippling nervousness. And I think that is one of the reasons why I can help people too, because I can see what the pitfalls are, and I can understand somehow the psychology behind why you might fall into that pitfall or this pitfall or whatever the pitfall may be. But we all have them. It's just about learning which one you have and try to navigate around them. So, yes.
Yeah. Wow, that's absolutely amazing. So, thank you for sharing your journey, Erika. So, it's inspiring to see how you shaped your career. So, now let's dive a little deeper into your motivation. What
Mm,
inspired you to start helping others improve their public speaking skills, and how has the journey evolved over time?
good question. Thank you. It started organically, really, with an actor friend of mine, a guy who contacted me as he needed help to prepare for a role that he was doing. He's Swedish. His level of English is also very good, but he didn't feel secure. He didn't know whether it was good enough and whether he could be convincing as a native English speaker. So he came to me and he said, "Can you please help me work on this role with me?" And at first, I hadn't really seen myself as a director or a teacher in that way before. And I said, well, let's take a look at it and see if I can help, first of all. Um, so we started looking at the text, and out came all of these different ideas from somewhere within me. And he was like, oh my goodness, and he flew. He took this character and he flew. And most of all, he felt confident. He could walk into this film production knowing that, yes, my level of English is good enough. I know where my pitfalls are. And he couldn't have discovered that without the help that I had given him, which was great. And later on, a few months later, another friend of mine who is not an actor, she works in the business arena, she came to me and she said, oh, I have a new role at the company that I'm at, and I have to do these presentations in English now. And oh, I really hate them, right? I hate doing them, and I feel like an ostrich because every time I know that the occasion is coming closer and closer in the calendar. How can I think about, how can I mentally prepare so that I don't stick my head in the sand every time? So we talked a bit about that. And from that point, it's just grown. And it's not, the course that I have, the presentation skills mastery, and the the Facebook group that I run as well, that has only been active for about a year. So it's only really for a year now, or less than a year, that I've moved it into making it a part of my business. And it's also because I've actually come to realize that being an actress and being on stage myself, yes, I do still enjoy it, but I enjoy helping others more. It gives me a sense of purpose in a completely different way than being an actress myself. But I don't want to stop being an actress completely, because that too helps me be active, and it sort of both sides help the other, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's a little bit about the motivation. I love the fact that I can watch somebody, and some people, especially women, actually, I would say, I don't know what it is, whether it's a cultural thing or a society thing, but most women that I know, excuse me, my microphone, I'm banging it. Most women are so capable. We know so much. We have so many different facets to our lives. We are mothers, we are wives, we are girlfriends, we are this, and we are the family project planner, we are business women, we have all these different arrows to our bows, and yet we feel like we are jack of all trades and master of none. So the work that I do, especially with women, has to do with confidence, with just mirroring the fact that, yes, you are super good at what you do. You can, and if you don't feel confident, and I know that you have a question for me later on how you can instantly make yourself feel more confident. And it's quite easy. And when I'm able to share that and see how these women go off and they go, yes, I can apply it. And it makes me feel like, for instance, I know you have a question about this too, but one of my clients that I've worked with one-on-one, she is a manager at an international pharmaceutical company. And she came to me because she needed help with her English. She said, I can travel and speak English conversational in a social setting, but in a business setting, I have no idea if what I'm saying makes sense. So she needed help with that. And she also she had recently been promoted and was heading into a management training. And she said that it terrifies me because I know it will be one of the toughest things that I ever do. It's an international management training. I know that we will be given curveballs every minute during these 3 days, and I don't know how to prepare for that. I can only prepare for one of those curveballs, which was a pre-assigned assignment, but the others, I have no clue. And she was literally terrified. And she came back. So we didn't have much time. So we worked with the one assignment that she could prepare for, which was a presentation of herself. And she got the highest mark in that. And she texted me on her way back and she said, yes, it was the most difficult thing I've ever done. However, the one thing that we could prepare for, I got the highest mark that you could ever get. And it has given me a sense that even though I didn't know what the other curveballs were going to be, we have prepared enough answers for her that she could give, like, oh, what a good question. Let me get back to you in an hour or so, or whatever. So she felt prepared enough to not completely crumble under pressure. And it's had the knock-on effect, because she told me this only a few weeks ago. She said, our work has given the knock-on effect that now when I call the board to say, I have an issue that I need to run by you, I don't feel scared anymore. That used to terrify me, but now it doesn't, because I know how to prepare mentally for that meeting. So yes, long answer, but that motivates me. So yeah.
Wow, that's such a powerful story, Erika. So it's clear that you are very passionate about this work. Now let's talk about the practical side of public speaking. Do you have any top tips for speaking confidently?
I do. The first one is film yourself and record yourself. And again, it's what I talked about before. It's so that you can start viewing yourself how others view you. Do you use your hands too much? Do you mumble too much? Do you look away too much? Or do you become too aggressive or whatever? All of those different pitfalls you need to start owning. You can only change what you know, right? And some things you might not want to change. You might be pleasantly surprised, like I was all of those years ago. Like, oh, I don't look scared. Uh-huh. Okay, good. I guess, right? So that's my number one. And I know that a lot of people feel awkward about watching themselves back. And I have to be tough and say, you need to get over that. Because in order to improve and in order to sort of polish that diamond that you are, you need to film and record yourself. So it's a tough cookie, but you have to bite it. All right. The other one is I always recommend standing up. Even in the virtual room, stand up if you can. Why? Because it gives you access to all of you. Your breathing instantly becomes better. You can move a little bit and you are freer. If you can't stand up, which sometimes we can't, then watch how the royals sit, right? They don't slouch. They're not couch potatoes. They sit upright. It's almost like they're standing while sitting. So practice that as well. And there are some in the virtual room, keep focused on the camera lens. If you need to make little arrows or something that point towards the camera lens, because it's through the camera lens that you, the onlooker, feel like you are looking into my eyes. If I start looking down at my script here or looking down on the screen, you lose me, right? In the real room, in the physical room, you don't really have that same problem. However, I'm sure that we've all seen super clever public speakers that are complete introverts and they tend to look away or they tend to faff with their hair or whatever. So be vigilant of that too. Make sure that your hair is back so we can see your face. If you flap, well, I can see your face, you know, if you flap too much with your hands, which I have a tendency to do, then know that and sometimes be still with your hands. What else? If you tend to be an ostrich, or what I also call a shrinking violet, i.e., your nervousness will always play tricks on you. Remember, the brain has one function, and that is to keep this body alive. That its core assignment, and it takes that assignment super seriously. So whenever we start making changes in our world, business world or private world, our brain will say, no, 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 don't go there. You might die, right? Any change to the brain is a potential death. So it will always warn you to never make any changes. The brain doesn't care if you grow. The brain doesn't care if you're happy or not. It cares that you are breathing and alive. So when we are nervous or excited or whatever word you want to call it, most of us have a tendency to either become a shrinking violet or the aggressive terminator. Like those are the two extremes now. Most women tend to fall into the shrinking violet category. What do I mean by that? Well, it means that the brain will give us signals that say you're being too loud, we can see you, i.e. the lion will eat you. And yet to the audience, it will look like this. Hello, my name is Erika, and I'm here today to talk about presentation skills and blah, blah, blah. Right? But the brain will keep telling you that you are still audible and that we can see you because you haven't, in fact, disappeared. But it will do everything it can to turn down your volume, your speaking volume, and to shrink your body posture. So if that is you, and you will know that if you film yourself, then you can practice lifting your chest up. Think of it as having a tiny star here that wants to meet the sun, right? You can also imagine having a balloon, like a hot air balloon, attached to the back of your head that just lifts your head up, boom, so that your head is floating on your spine. And suddenly you're up here. And physiologically, this will create a change in you. The brain will almost go, oh, right, we are confident now. Okay, right? And it will feed confidence hormones. Yeah, so that's it. I could go on forever, but I'm going to stop there. And yeah.
Those are fantastic tips, Erika. So thank you for breaking it down so clearly. And speaking of confidence, let's touch on nerves, which
Mm.
we all experience. What do you recommend for managing those nerves?
Number one is to know that we all get nervous. It's a physiological, here I am again hitting my microphone. It's a physiological response. So you cannot get rid of nerves. The most common question that I have from people that contact me is, how do I stop being nervous? And I say, you can't. You need to find out how you react to your nervousness. I, for one, I need to do something physical before I have an engagement. I can't just stand still because I have so much energy that flutters around in my body that if I stand still for too long, it's almost as if that energy starts to eat me up alive and I shrink. Right? I'm still have a tendency to be that shrinking violent. With my past, it's easy to understand why. So I need to be physical. What does that mean? Well, it means swinging your arms or shaking from side to side or just shaking out your body or watching a fun dance on YouTube and try to join in. Another good thing about watching something fun is that the brain can also focus on one thing at a time. So if you give it something else to focus on rather than, oh my goodness, I'm about to step onto the stage and do I have everything covered and what do I say? Give it something fun to watch because then it will do that and it will be happy for a while. So you give yourself a bit of a break. If you, on the other hand, tend to be the aggressive terminator, i.e., I have to kill the lion before it eats me, then your volume tends to go up. You tend to be very staccato in how you talk. You never take a breath because any breath means that the lion will have a moment to eat you up, and your body language will be more aggressive and fast forward and a frown and all of that. So again, know where you are, know your own pitfalls. Breathe. Breathing is really important. Move your body in order to engage and make this energy work for you, so that you can get out on stage and boom, be there. Another great thing to help your confidence is to do the superhero pose. So after you've done some dancing and shaking and jigging about, stand for 2 minutes in the superhero pose. Imagine Wonder Woman. You can't see my whole body now here in the virtual room, but hands on your waist, boom, chest lifted, and you're there. If you don't feel completely stupid, grin, like this. 2 minutes is all it takes. And that will hormonally, I don't know if that's a word, it will boost your hormones in a confidence way. Then when you walk onto the stage, if it's a stage or a conference venue in the physical room, walk confidently and smile. Instruct the audience to know that, here comes someone who looks happy, who looks confident, and then take a beat before you say your first sentence. Land, don't throw that first sentence away. Take a beat and then say, hi, or whatever your first line may be. Because the audience, time is also funny when you're nervous. It feels like it's super slow in your head, when in fact for the audience, it's super fast. So you need to slow down your time a bit in order for the audience to catch up with you. And this is especially important if you're a stand-up comedian or if you're delivering a result, maybe. You want the audience to hear your first line because otherwise you've lost them from the go, right? What else is in the digital room, same thing really. Take that time to shake it up beforehand, and then when the camera is switched on or the meeting is starting, just smile And when you're called to give your hello or to start giving your speech or present or whatever it may be, then say hi. It's great to be here. Blah blah blah. Yes,
Wow, those are fantastic strategies, Erica.
thanks.
So, engagement is everything. So, now imagine you've seen some common challenges uh, people face in public speaking. What do you notice most?
You mean when people come to me and the questions that I'm asked, or just in general when
In
I watch
general.
people speak? Anything?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, in the digital room, I would say that we have become a little, I'm old school now, right? So bear that in mind. But for my own personal taste and the way that I teach, I think that we have, generally speaking, in the digital virtual room, we have become too slack. So most of us are entering a digital meeting room without our camera switched on, without proper microphones. And you don't need a proper microphone, but if you're not using a microphone, then you need to learn to use your voice,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, we slouch. We tend to sit on the sofa, switch on our laptop, and sort of scratch ourselves on the head, slurp our coffee. We treat it as if it's not important. And I always say to my followers and to my students, would you go to a business meeting, a real business meeting, or even a party with people that you have never met before, wearing your pajama bottoms? And most people look at me and go, no, like I'm stupid. And I'm like, well, that is what you do in the digital room. So treat the digital room like a party with people that you have never met before and who you might want to become friends with. You want to give a good impression. So don't walk into the digital meeting room with a bag over your head. Have the camera switched on. Make sure that we can see you, meaning be lit from the front, not from behind. Preferably stand if you can,
Mhm.
and wear a smile, right? In the physical room, I would say it's pretty much the same thing, but in reverse. So, because we become so used to seeing social media platforms and networking platforms as a means to sell, like, oh, I've got this, I've got that, I've got my book, and I've got this, and I'm, starring in this role, and I'm, asked to do a play or whatever. We are so focused on talking about ourselves that in that respect, I tend to say the opposite. I say, be interested in the people that you're meeting. Practice listening as well, hearing what other people are saying. And sometimes, you go to a party and with, I don't know, 50 people maybe, sometimes you don't click with any one of those people at all. And that's just how life is too, right? But it's yeah, I just think that being polite and being interested in the connection with other people is super important. And how do you do that? Well, you do that through listening, I think, as well. I
So
hope that
those
helps.
are,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. That helped a lot for me too because I also thought okay, I have some things going on. I need to change. Like lighting and stuff. I'm
Oh,
embarrassed, but yeah, it's good to learn these things.
yeah.
So, you told me a success story already. So, do you
Hmm.
have another success story that you would like to share?
Oh, well, I I have some success stories. I work with a company now. I'm being asked back, which is a success story in itself. It's a Swedish organization that I also lecture for. They teach schools and like the equivalent of NHS, but in Sweden. So hospitals and care units, psychological care units. Uh, they teach. how to recover and how to heal from self-harm and eating disorders. And because I myself have been a sufferer, I'm one of their lecturers now. So I do this. But for the past 6 or 7 months or so, I've actually been asked to train their new lecturers, as it were, in presentation skills. And so I've met through those workshops that I've done both digitally as well as in real life. I have at least 5 that have come to me and said, your tips have helped me to focus my breathing and to clear up, as you said, to clear up the lighting and how to do these digital presentations in a more professional and yet relaxed way. So that's one success story, absolutely. And then I have another lady who came to me. She is native Australian, Amanda Wyatt. She's the CEO of a company in Sweden called Brand On Sweden. So they deal with, marketing and branding, etc., etc. And she's one of those people that you would classify as a natural, right? She loves to talk. She's she's just a social butterfly. She's great in any social setting. And yet she came to me and she said, I don't, and she's learned Swedish. So she speaks fluent Swedish. And she said, sometimes when I do presentations or business pitches in Swedish, it feels like I lose the group and I don't understand why. And so she recorded herself and I sat in on a few of her meetings and I said to her, I said, you know what it is, Amanda? You have to slow down your speech a bit. And she's like, what? And I'm like, no, you're such a cannonball and you have such high energy that people are baffled by that energy. So it takes them a while before they've even started listening to what she's saying because she just enters a room with, waha, here I am, a boom, boom, boom. And I said, which is great because you lift the roof of any room that you enter. However, you need to slow down in order for the participants to get on the train with you. You're already on that train and it's charging way ahead. And she started implementing more pauses and, shifting focus and even changing the volume sometimes, like classic storytelling advice. And suddenly she felt like, yes, now she can hold the attention of everyone in the room, which is great. Because even Swedes generally Swedes have a really high level of English, which is due to the fact that we have so much international music and we've never dubbed films. So kids here grow up to hearing English from a very young age. But even so, there's a difference when you meet someone who is a native English with a rocket speed accent and a slight Aussie accent, throwing in, references that you might not get if you don't have English as your native language. So all of that was a huge aha moment for her. Yeah, so those are the success stories I can think
Ah,
of right now.
wow. Those little changes, they make a very big difference at the end. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, now I know that you have some free resources available for people wanting to improve their skills.
Yes.
Can you tell a little bit more about that, please?
Well, I've been thinking about that, and I think what I would really recommend to everyone who's watching this is to join my Facebook group. It's free. It's a closed group, so you have to apply to join. But the link to that group is on my Facebook profile. And in that group, there are several videos and lots of useful posts because I post in that group regularly, like once a week, sometimes more, with tips and just anecdotes and things that can be helpful. But I also have my a PDF guide called Presentation Skills Basics, basically, which talks about everything that I've discussed here and more. So I think that is the best thing that I would like to recommend. So join my group and grab that PDF from inside the group and ask away as well in that group if you have any other specific questions.
That's very generous of you. Thank you so much. So how can someone get in touch with you if they want to continue working with you and if they want to dive deeper, not just the free resources, but to work with you for a long time?
Oh, that would be my pleasure. I would love that opportunity. And the best way to do is to reach out to me in an email, which is hello@erikadittmer.com. And you can write that in the comments, I think. I can send you the
Absolutely.
details and add that as a comment. And email me and we'll set up a meeting and see which way would be the best. If you would want one-on-one coaching, my time for that is limited because I have an upcoming musical that I start rehearsals soon for, and I also have a digital course called Presentation Skills Mastery, which is pre-recorded modules, worksheets, as well as a live weekly session where you can practice and ask me questions live and get feedback live. So for me, it's the best of both worlds, really.
Perfect.
But yeah, send me an email and we'll take it from there.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
that's awesome. So thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to have you here, and those tips are so valuable that even we can't pay someone to learn these tips because
thank you.
those are really valuable and people do not take the time to improve their skills. I hope this will be a big change for someone who watches this. So again, I can't thank you enough for being here. So
Thank you.